So if you're like me, you've probably always wondered what makes Swiss real estate so expensive compared to other markets. And that's what we're going to be looking into today. I have pulled up some actual listings so that we can compare some listings here in Switzerland to some listings in the US as well as in Finland. Let's dive right in and understand what is making all these houses so expensive here in Switzerland. The first thing to understand is that here in Switzerland, only 5% of land is zoned for residential use. And that is a very, very low percentage. We also have about 38% that is zoned for agricultural use. And that means that you have to be a farmer to buy that property. There are some exceptions for small agricultural plots. For example, our previous neighbor had bought a small farm. He was able to do that even though he is not a farmer. And why is this? It is because you can get, for smaller plots, a cantonal exception approval to purchase that land, but there are still stipulations, so most of the time you still have to use it for farming. What this person did was that he bought some donkeys and he was able to purchase that farm. But that is really an exception. Most people in Switzerland have to live on that 5% of land that is zoned for residential purposes. There's the 5% for residential purposes, 38% for agricultural use, and then about 31% is basically forests and mountains and swamps that are protected and things like that. That makes the situation already quite difficult to begin with. So if we compare that to somewhere like Colorado, I chose that because it's sort of similar in terms of there being mountains and that being a limiting factor in where you can actually build. 59% of Colorado is actually zoned for residential use, and that's already a lot more. So you can just imagine, if you think about how high the prices are in Colorado, you can imagine how in Switzerland, where it's even more limited, where you can build, how this drives prices up in this country. Now here is where it actually gets even trickier. So our population is growing. There's basically about 90,000 people moving into Switzerland every year. This is unlike in a lot of countries. This mostly is comprised of skilled labor. So they are moving into cities to do white-collar jobs, but in a country with already low housing stock, you can just imagine the impact it has on the market, right? So the available housing stock is 0.5% in cities like Geneva and Zurich, which is where these people are moving into. They say that in a healthy market that allows for mobility, there's about 1.5%. There are just no houses available as it is, and there's more people moving in. And we're set to hit the 10 million mark by 2030. This is sort of why the government now is making plans and taking steps about how to address this. But that sort of explains to you, in a nutshell, what's going on with the Swiss market and what is driving up the prices, because the primary driver of the high prices is the scarcity and the fact that we cannot build new houses most of the time. So now that we've gone through the foundations and the primary drivers behind Swiss real estate being so expensive, I wanted to go through actual listings with you. So first, we've chosen one-bedroom apartments in different cities. The first one I've chosen is in New York City. It's listed for $350,000. It's on the Upper East Side, pre-war building. It's a co-op. I can't really assess the HOA fees, but they don't seem ridiculously expensive. It seems to be, I mean, it's on the Upper East Side. I assume that it's a pretty nice area, and most importantly, it's right in the city. I think it looks pretty nice. The condition looks very good. Kitchen is nice, bathroom is nice. Love the exposed brick, even though it's not relevant to this topic at hand, but it's a nice looking property. That was it, $350,000. And now for the Swiss 1-bedroom property. This is 2.5 rooms, which means 1 bedroom, listed at 1.47 million francs. It's roughly the same amount in dollars. It's a bit bigger, it's newer. It says that the garage is included. Usually they include a price for the garage separately, but my experience is that they're often willing to throw it in there. And it has an in-unit washing machine and dryer, which is not always the case with apartments in Zurich, especially in the city. Sometimes you have a laundry room that's communal. And yeah, like I said, here they've listed the parking spot for 60,000 francs. Usually they will almost always throw it in. It's usually included in the full price. And now let's look at the photos. This isn't right in the city. It's a little bit outside, but it is within Zurich City. So the kitchen looks pretty new. It has a fairly big balcony. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. Bathroom as well. Here you see the washer and dryer. Here you see the building. It's quite new. It's next to the river in the city. And like I mentioned, it's a little bit bigger, but still, it's more than 3 times the price of the New York City property. Now let's go through a listing of a Helsinki property. So from my hometown, it's listed at 335,000 euros. It's about half the size of the 1-bedroom in Switzerland that we just looked at. It's from 1929, similar to the New York City property, so they are more historical, the buildings in Helsinki. What immediately struck me as different here in this listing from Helsinki is that they tend to include a lot more information. In the Finnish property market, people generally expect to know almost everything. So here they've listed like all the renovations they've ever done to both the property and the building itself. They also include information like whether the building owns any commercial spaces, and sometimes they get rent income from that. So they include information on whether that's profitable, because obviously they can use that income towards those renovations. So that's sort of how it works in Helsinki. Here, of course, you can use the communal sauna. So if you want, you basically book a weekly slot and it costs 20 euros per month. And then let's look at the photos. So for an older property, it looks pretty good. I mean, they've definitely kept it in a good condition and they've renovated it. The layout seems pretty good. I mean, bathrooms and kitchens are small in city apartments in Helsinki, but it looks very modern. I don't see an oven, but maybe it's not visible from this shot. So this is typically an apartment that someone buys as like their first property. They keep sort of upgrading. The area is very nice and the condition of the building looks pretty good. Here you can see, based on the elevator and the exterior doors and things like that, that it is a historical building. So it's sort of what you'd expect for that price. Obviously, I've just chosen a few properties that sort of demonstrate the overall prices in these cities and what's possible. But it is possible to get something a little bit cheaper or a little bit more expensive if you want a 1-bedroom in Helsinki. But this is sort of, let's say this is like the ballpark. And then for the luxury listings, first, I've chosen this property in New Jersey, which is listed at $5.9 million. So immediately when you read through this description, you know, with the 24-foot ceilings and things like that, this sort of thing just almost doesn't exist here in Switzerland. 7-car garage, I don't know where you'd have that. Almost nowhere. The pool with a waterfall. There are very, very few properties in Switzerland that have that. But this is listed at $5.9 million in New Jersey. And just sort of the sheer grandeur. I mean, if you were like Louis the 16th, maybe you'd have a property like that in Switzerland, but almost nobody has something like this here. They also just don't build this way. Even if it's a luxury property, the style is also very different. I guess the other thing about the American suburbs is that they're kind of far from cities usually, so people want all possible entertainment and things like that inside their home, whereas here in Switzerland you're almost always near a city, so you can go to the movies or whatever. So at this price point, you wouldn't have like a home cinema like here, and certainly not a 7-car garage and this kind of pool setup. It would be impossible at this price point. And it's a huge property. I mean, the lot is very big, not only the house itself. And this driveway, I mean, it's very nice. Okay, now I've chosen 2 luxury listings for Switzerland just because I wanted to choose a property that would have at least almost the same level of grandeur as the previous New Jersey property. And then I wanted to choose something that costs around the same, so you can sort of compare. The first property that I chose in Switzerland is in Geneva. It's this one listed by Engel & Völkers. It is listed for the humble price of 47 million francs. Granted, it is a bit bigger than that New Jersey property, but like I said, I just wanted to demonstrate a little bit of like what's possible at that price point. Yeah, maybe something to mention here is that like here you see that it includes a staff dining room. So often properties that are sort of this size, people will have a full staff, whereas I don't know if that's the case in New Jersey. You know, maybe people get cleaners and nannies and stuff like that, but you certainly wouldn't have like a live-in full staff if you own a $6 million property. Whereas here, they would definitely live there with you most of the time. Now this is some kind of former royal or noble property, but still this price point. And it's nice looking and everything, but it's nowhere close to as big as the New Jersey property. If you put this house in New Jersey and saw it listed for $49 million, I mean, obviously nobody would even come to look at it. So even this luxury listing, because of the price, it seems sort of very underwhelming after looking at what's possible elsewhere. It's nice, but is it 49 million francs nice? I mean, you tell me. The lot is very big though, and it does include some private chapel and other buildings. I think it included stables, and it's very private. So I don't think there were any neighbors nearby. The other thing is that usually you can't really renovate these sorts of properties easily because they are historical buildings. So you need approval for almost anything that you want to do there. That's the staff kitchen, I guess. And a wine cellar. I think this is the chapel. It's a nice property, what can I say? But it's too expensive. Now this next luxury listing is also from Switzerland, but Ticino, which is the Italian-speaking region of Switzerland. And I just wanted to choose something that was a similar price point as the previous property. It's a little bit more, so at 6.5 million, and with the currency exchange rate, obviously it's even more, but let's not get into that. But this is a 3-bedroom property. It doesn't even compare. Look at this kitchen. It looks like a holiday home or something like that. So I don't know that this has been used as a primary residence, but this is the sort of price that can be typical for this sort of villa if it's on a large plot of land, which this seems to be on. And then lastly, let's look at one listing from Helsinki. So this is 5.7 million, 440 square meters. It was built in 1955. There are 6 rooms. It does say that it was designed by an architect called Viljo Revel. And here it is. So you have your own shoreline, which is very nice to have in Helsinki because obviously you can have your own boat. It's pretty easy to get around. There are nice cafes and stuff like that that you can go to by boat because it's right on the sea. And there is a sauna right next to that beach, that private beach that the property comes with. So that's also very nice. It reminds me a little bit of like Frank Lloyd Wright, this sort of architecture. I guess it was pretty typical at that time, and they all had similar influences. It's very indoor-outdoor living. I like it. And it's also very private. I mean, the only houses that you can see from inside the property are basically over the water on the other side. Has an outdoor pool, 4 ovens, or maybe one of them is a microwave. I mean, this property looks very big, and I have to say I like the style. I like this sort of style a lot. And it's pretty typical for Nordic countries in general, not just Finland. Another one of the outdoor pool. Oh, there is another property to the back of this house, and a double garage, I guess. That's the sauna. So there's a separate sauna building, which is very nice. So as you've seen from our extensive research on those listings, there's just a huge variation between what you can get for the same amount of money in these different countries. Sometimes it can feel a little bit frustrating, but at the same time, if you look at the actual property prices and the fluctuation here, there isn't that much. So when you're thinking of your property as an investment, it actually protects you to have a market like this one. If you're looking at, the other sides of it, yeah, sometimes it can feel a little bit unfair and frustrating. But I think the main point to keep in mind is that you just have to know what you're getting into and what the price ranges are here if you are moving to Switzerland, considering to buy a property, or if you're just looking at, the rent levels, because all of those are going up. So it's just important to keep in mind what makes more sense, both from a financial perspective, but also otherwise. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.